From the main Ayak not holding back on how he'll wreck him in a ring, to the Predator being ready to become the baddest on the planet, here's why Tim Sylvia's claiming he'd defeat Francis Ngannou in his prime. To kick things off, the retired MMA fighter isn't impressed with the Cameroonian French star. To him, Ngannou is a monster with heavy hands, with all muscle but no brain. He also thinks his punches are wild and crazy, and lack the technicality that fighters like John Jones or Stipe Miocic possess. What's more, Sylvia went on to call Ngannou's fight against Cyril Gane ugly as well. To add to that, he says he's seen through the Cameroonian French professional and believes he would have destroyed him in his prime. Now, ironically, even though he has problems with the fighter, the two couldn't be more alike. Did you know Sylvia and Ngannou have both had problems with the UFC? If you'll recall, they both wanted to stay with the UFC and end their careers there, but they left early because they were fighting for their rights.
I was thinking about how I'm gonna finish this and then go to take my title shot. Yeah, so even during my training, I think about both.
Either in terms of their athletic freedom or because they weren't being paid their worth. Sylvia had a professional career that lasted 12 years, starting in 2001 and ending in 2013. During his time in the UFC, he competed in a total of 13 fights and won 9 of them. His days of glory got cut short when he was released from the UFC shortly after his loss to Nogueira. He was straight up choked by the guy. And get this, he did fight Emelianenko in a non-UFC event and lost in just 36 seconds. Maybe he should think twice before riling up Francis, because fans took notice and are calling him out. People on Twitter couldn't believe the words coming out of Tim's mouth. It's pretty simple. A lot has changed since Sylvia's prime days. For him to tout his greatness and says he's better than the rest technically is just a joke. To them, today's fighters would squash him. Some fans even said that Sylvia would lose to most of the top light heavyweights today. But you can't blame fans. The man's been out of mind and out of shape for a while. Now, the fighters are faster, stronger, and more technically skilled. Sure, Sylvia could still be a competitive fighter today, but it's also possible that he'd be outmatched. Heck, one Twitter user even asked Tim to go easy on the drinks. Yikes! But Sylvia's making the #1 rookie mistake. He's underestimating just how good Francis is. Ngannou is a skilled MMA fighter with knockout power. Known as the Predator, he's earned his fearsome reputation inside the MMA cage. With a record of 17 wins and 3 losses over his 10-year career, Ngannou rarely goes to a decision and has a highlight reel of finishes. In his most recent UFC victory, Francis showed his grappling skills by staging a comeback after losing 2 rounds to Cyril. The man was charging through the match despite having an injured knee, but his new and improved wrestling let him defend his title without a problem. Sure, his rematch with Stipe wasn't the greatest, but it was Ngannou's most impressive. The Predator's improved takedown defense was just too good. He landed devastating punches that led to a second-round finish. Leading up to his second UFC title shot, Ngannou wasted no time in beating his opponents. Like his style, he knocked out Curtis Blades, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, and former champions Cain Velasquez and Junior Dos Santos in quick fashion. And don't forget, Ngannou finished Dos Santos in just 2 minutes and 46 seconds. So do you still think Sylvia stands a chance? Maybe he's still got some tricks up his sleeve.
Yeah, some legend, and then I'll know that if I win, I fight some of them, and if I win, it will make me grow up. Yes, it will make me shine.
His strengths in the UFC were his height advantage and striking power. Standing at an impressive 6'8", Sylvia used his long reach to his advantage, keeping opponents at bay and landing strikes from a distance. He showed his strength in the clinch, delivering powerful knees and sizing up to control his opponents. In his debut fight against Wesley "Cabbage" Carrera, Sylvia was able to absorb a punch and used his reach and clinch work to wear down Carrera, leading to a corner stoppage in the second round. Fans got to see him in all his glory in his title shot against Rico. Rodriguez underestimated Sylvia, but the towering heavyweight proved him wrong by knocking him out and breaking his jaw. The man's always been ready to ground and pound. Sadly, Tim's career hasn't been free of crazy ups and downs. As for his biggest weakness, you ask, he struggles with his image and health. In 2003, Tim faced a setback in his career when he tested positive for the banned substance stanozolol. That too after his first title defense. As a result, he had to give up his title, serve a 6-month suspension, and pay a fine. fine. Sylvia said he wasn't chasing a competitive advantage, but just wanted to look better. In 2004, Sylvia returned to the UFC after his suspension to compete against Frank Mir. But the fight ended in the first round when everyone caught on to the fact that Tim's forearm snapped. He had to undergo surgery and took several months to recover. Unfortunately, Tim continued to struggle with weight cuts and had to compete in catchweight bouts, which took a toll on him. In 2013, he had a 3-fight losing streak. Then in 2015, he tried to make a comeback, hoping to spring back on his feet, but he didn't get medical clearance from an athletic board. In his own words, the physical and mental damage he'd received over 16 years of his career had the last laugh. Either way, it's not like Francis is free of weaknesses. The man's got a chink in his armor. Picture this, a hulking figure, weighing 263 pounds of pure muscle. Ngannou's power is undeniable. But here's the shocker, it starts to fizzle as the fight drags on. Endurance is not his strong suit, my friends.
You know, there were things that in this business that I didn't know how it works. I was still asking myself how that would end up if it ever happened.
As the minutes tick by, his massive frame starts to feel the strain. Suddenly, his punches lose steam. It's no coincidence that Ngannou's victories all come within the first 2 rounds. But when faced with longer battles, like his bouts against Derek Lewis, things start to unravel. The 3rd and 5th rounds became his downfall. But Ngannou hasn't taken many clean shots to the chin because his fights usually end too quickly for opponents to truly exploit him. But if someone like John Jones were to step into the ring, his speed and skills could help him counterattack Ngannou and take the beast down. All right, get ready for the ultimate showdown. Francis Ngannou versus Tim Sylvia. It's the clash we've all been waiting for, pitting the unstoppable force against the seasoned veteran.
I mean, that must be a dumb decision, but we didn't want to withdraw from this fight. I was very confident about my skills to win this fight.
So, who's got the upper hand in this epic battle? Ngannou, with his bone-crushing punches, has been terrorizing the heavyweight division. But Sylvia, the crafty old-timer, has been around the block and knows a thing or two about surviving. Here's the deal. Ngannou might tire out if the fight goes into the later rounds. That's when Sylvia's experience and endurance could come into play. Standing tall with his height and reach advantage, Sylvia might just give Ngannou a run for his money. But hey, let's not forget about Ngannou's dynamite power. One punch from him, and it could be lights out for Sylvia. He's got that explosive knockout ability that can turn the tables in an instant. It's like a battle between the old school and the new generation. He throws it with good timing and power, and it's often the punch that puts his opponents away. He also switches stances from time to time, which can be difficult for his opponents to deal with. He's also a good combination puncher, so you can bet on him to not rely on single shots. Finally, Ngannou is a very aggressive fighter. He doesn't back down from anyone, and he's always looking to close the distance and land punches. This can be a double-edged sword, but it's also one of the things that makes him so dangerous. Anyways, from the predator being ready to become the baddest on the planet to the maniac not holding back on how he'll wreck him in a ring, that was why Tim Sylvia claimed that he'd defeat Francis Ngannou in his prime.